To BPW Goes Digital. The topic for today is cybersecurity, and the first video is about security and collaboration. The speaker for today is from BPW Grand Cayman. She is Alexandra Simonova. She was a young representative for the year 2014 to 2020 for Grand Cayman, and she was elected as a second vice president of BPW Grand Cayman in 2020. She has a master's degree in software engineering and she's about to finish her PhD in information assurance and security. She is a certified information system security professional and also a certified information privacy manager. She has around 14 years of experience in IT and security management. With this dynamic background, we would like to hear more from Alexandra, and now I would like to give the floor to Alexandra. Welcome, Alexandra.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the BPW Cybersecurity series. As Nilima introduced me, my name is Alexandra Simonova, and I'm really happy to be presenting on cybersecurity topic today. This webinar is the first recording out of 4 parts in regards to cybersecurity. This one is dedicated to security and collaboration technology, and all of the cybersecurity series recordings would be from 10 to 15 minutes and would cover different topics, and hope you enjoy all of them. So we start with discussion on the cyber threats in general and what questions do we need to ask and what aspects do we need to think of when we think of cybersecurity in relation to BPW. First, let's think about why is that important to us and who might attack us at all. We're a non-profit organization, we have different members, so who might be interested in us in terms of cyber criminals? Unfortunately, those cyber criminals go after pretty much everyone in this new reality. We have some data related to our members, related to our clubs, related to organizations that we work with, and some of the cyber criminals may be interested in that. There are also hacktivists that are gender-driven. Sometimes they disagree with some of the ideas that are being presented. Sometimes they're just too radical, and those radical groups can employ hacktivist tactics as well. Sometimes even nation states can be considered a threat to organizations, as well as insiders. Unfortunately, that still happens to both corporate organizations and nonprofits, as well as skilled individual hackers. And the last group, although they may be less prevalent now, those are the people that we call opportunistic hackers. Those hackers may just go and look for vulnerabilities. They can see the website, and unfortunately, they're not ethical hackers. They would go after everything and just sometimes just for fun can destroy the website that we've been building on, can go after members on social networks. So all of those attackers are someone that we should be concerned about. So why would they do that? What would they be after? And what are the risks from the business and professional women clubs? First is political agenda, as with any initiatives related to human rights, any initiatives related to helping people, political agenda can always play a role. Second one is theft of intellectual property. If we have been developing some programs that may be of interest, that all can be of interest to hackers. There's always financial fraud. As we have our financial systems, we manage the fundraisers and so forth. Attackers, unfortunately, can be, again, not ethical hackers, so they could be motivated by the financial aspects of the cyber criminal world. There's also reputation damage. Again, some of the opportunistic hackers may just not think what they're doing and may damage the reputation of the clubs or individual members. There's also unfortunate disruption to the business that may be caused by some types of the attacks, and in the worst case scenario, threats to health and safety. So how can they achieve their malicious attempt? One of the most common ones is phishing, and both phishing that goes to everyone, from those guys that are opportunistic, but also spam phishing, which is more targeted when cybercriminals see a target and identify someone who may have something of interest to them. They may go after that person. There are also software and hardware vulnerabilities, so vulnerabilities in mobile devices, vulnerabilities in different technologies that may be leverage vulnerabilities of the social networks, and we'll cover those in more specific during the series. Also, third-party compromise, if we work with some vendors, for instance, in organizing the events or in collecting payments for the fundraisers, those vendors can be compromised, and that can cause reputational damage to us as well. In more sophisticated attacks, there are techniques that are called multi-channel attacks. It's when the attackers go in several ways to attack us, and also stolen credentials and privacy data. So there are three main pillars that can be employed by both individual members and the clubs to deal with the cyber threats. We call them secure, vigilant, and resilient. And that specific categorization is prevalent to Deloitte, which is an organization that I work with, although Deloitte is not affiliated to BPW in any way. I must say it as the disclaimer. I will be using some of the language from the organization. So first pillar is being secure. Being secure, if you think about it, is like having a perimeter around what you're trying to protect. So having the strong security in terms of securing your assets, having firewalls, things like that, protecting your data. So everything that you can protect, that you could think of in advance. Then there is vigilant component. That means protecting from something that may not be known at the moment, collecting threat intelligence, for instance, from other human rights organizations, from the United Nations, from other organizations that we work with, that they may be aware of some specific attacks that may be targeting non-profits or human rights organizations, as well as educating our members of being able to identify the phishing attacks, the social network attacks, and so forth. And the last item is being resilient. That really helps to minimize the impact of attacks. It means that if we have been targeted by some phishing campaigns or by some malware, sense for malicious software, that we know and we educate our clubs what to do in those circumstances. Again, three main aspects would be having the controls to defend of what we can, so working with third-party providers on securing our websites, working with reputable vendors, then being able to identify if someone is trying to attack us as clubs or individuals, and being able to respond to that. Now, going deeper into one of the aspects of cybersecurity that has been really relevant recently amid the COVID-19 is the security and collaboration technology that we'll focus on in this first part. COVID-19 obviously led to greater emphasis on remote work for us as the members, and also to having more remote meetings and having our fundraisers remotely, having our member discussions remotely, having club gatherings remotely versus being in person. And it's natural for both workplace and the clubs for everyone to turn to services for both the meetings and also for sharing information and sharing the data, both files and potentially confidential data, as well as the personal information. And those technologies are not necessarily new. A lot of them would have been used before the pandemic. However, the usage of those technologies has significantly increased. And unfortunately, with that also draw more attention from cyber criminals, from those groups that I discussed earlier. And that increased the likelihood of potential threats from those cyber criminals. And as we evolve in our work patterns and in our collaboration patterns, there will be more and more reliance on such technology. So some aspects should be critical for us to understand and employ in our daily life and in our management of the club's events. And unfortunately, the speed of both technology involvement and the evolution of technologies, as well as the speed of the threats, is so high that there are a lot of activities that we need to start thinking right away. And using those platforms and implementing some of those controls need to be started right away. Let's look at the needs for those security. First one is the camera and screen sharing hijacking. So collaboration technologies are really great because we can see each other, we can communicate with each other, and we can share the information remotely. However, attackers could do that too. And collaboration technologies need to be equipped with the controls that support private meetings, that support password-protected collaboration when we share some confidential information or when we don't want someone to get in the middle of the presentations or meetings. And when it's not enforced, what could happen is that some cybercriminals can kind of drop into the meetings and even take control of the meetings. We saw a huge increase in Zoom attacks in the beginning of the pandemic, and I think Zoom reacted greatly. They issued a lot of updates and it looks a lot better now. However, we still need to be vigilant and still need to protect our meeting space from those unwanted individuals. Second one is protecting data and privacy. There are a number of data protection laws around the world at the moment, and a lot of privacy guidelines and industry practices that could be followed, and some of them relate to collaboration technology, especially as we collect and use the data related to our members. So, data that we collect from our collaboration tools and from file sharing tools that we use, we need to be careful how we share the data, so where we store it, how we protect it with the passwords or other controls, and how we share it with other parties. And certain information sharing should be prohibited, and also the encryption should be enforced, especially when we use new technologies. The last item is providing the security around content itself. Some of the more sophisticated platforms that we may use, such as websites and the event tracking systems, can employ what is called end-to-end encryption. So if that feature is available, for instance, WhatsApp is a technology that has been used a lot, and they have end-to-end encryption to some extent. And so just being more aware of the features that those platforms present and their benefits that they present from security perspective is important. And also understanding the limitations and being transparent about those limitations when we use the collaboration tools. So what can we do? That some activities can be done right away. For instance, enforce the auto-generated passwords for the meeting access for the platforms that have that feature available. Enable meeting waiting rooms so that you can control who is participating in the meetings and when the meetings start, and make sure that unwanted individuals may not participate. And also log meetings when they begin and you have all the individuals. You can also disable custom meetings and custom passwords and create passwords for your own meetings to make sure that you control that aspect as well. You can also disable the ability to integrate with other third parties. Sometimes the new technologies try to make it easier for themselves and use social networks, but we need to be very mindful of using the integration with those as exposing the passwords of the clubs and members from the social networks may be a risk. Also, if we work with the new platform, if we have some control around that, we can request that the meeting codes be expanded to at least 9 digits. That would just help again from unwanted individuals leveraging them and enumerating them. Okay. The next step that can be done in a few weeks is maintaining and enforcing the guidelines that we have at our clubs in regards to the meeting password access, in regards to the recording policies, in regards to the sharing information and transmission of the information. And another item is pushing the security awareness. And I hope that this series that we dedicated to cybersecurity would be part of that and would help with pushing the cybersecurity awareness among the BPW clubs and members. In the longer term, what we can look at the clubs is reissuing some of the meeting invitations if better controls become available and better layers of security become available so that we can be more secure as technologies evolve. For instance, if you had a meeting that was initially set up without a password, you can add a password to that meeting now. And for the platforms, when we develop more complex solutions to support the clubs, we can enable what is called single sign-on, so that people have their own one password and they can access different BW resources with that. And again, when we work with the new platforms, we can work with the platform providers and just understand what else can they provide us to support the security of BW as an organization. Just to finish on the key takeaways, again, collaboration technologies will become a new norm. So we know that we will be using them, and it becomes critical for our security to understand available controls and around both security and data privacy. And the technologies will evolve and the threats will evolve. So we need to be mindful and vigilant of that. For instance, to be aware of different potential loopholes that may become a part of potential technology. So kind of stay tuned to different news about security and collaboration technologies. Accelerate the implementation of controls, such as enabling the passwords, enabling the longer meeting IDs, having waiting rooms, having more complex and stronger passwords for the social networks that we use, Facebook, LinkedIn, and so forth, making sure we don't share passwords and we don't share any private information unless we need to, and that we've discussed. And last one is education of the club members and the industry and third parties that we are working on and other organizations that we are working on in regards to the best practices and guidelines, and just raising that awareness about the importance of the security and data protection when it comes to collaboration and remote working on the BPW initiatives. Thank you so much for your attention today. If you'd like to contact me, my name is Alexandra Simonova, and you can find me through VPW network or through my work email address. Thank you so much. Bye.
We want to thank our speaker in this video, Alexandra Simonova, a true expert in cybersecurity with a lot of credentials and many years of experience, for her contribution to this series of what will be 4 video tutorials on this issue of cybersecurity. In this one in particular, she was talking about security when it comes to collaboration technology. We may not all be familiar with that term, but we're using it regularly. Zoom is a great example of that. Skype is an example, GoToMeeting, WebEx, and so on. It's not only video conferencing, but it's any kind of platform that you're working with others in real time on that platform. So there are a lot of potential security issues, and she's addressed that in detail. Thanks again, Alexandra. Amazing. I want to thank you too, our viewer, for coming to this video and for looking at the other videos on this channel, I hope. And we hope to see you also in a live webinar soon. We have 2 or even 3 of those per month, typically on Wednesdays at 12 noon UTC time. And you can get the details by looking at the link below. We hope that you will look for the other videos in this series, which will be uploaded within the next few days, one by one, 4 in total. So look out for those. This one is the first one. Hope to see you soon. Bye for now.